of people who are driven to serve, we now have the most disgraceful example of someone who is driven to serve. And that, of course, is Bradley Manning. And the hideous, grotesque, I might even say Gothic way in which he is being treated in this country. Now, this is really embarrassing to all of us. Are you all embarrassed by this? Yes. I mean, deeply embarrassed, you know? It's like watching a helpless child get beaten to death by a parent and not stepping in and stopping it. That's what it is. So I want to ask David about this because he's very informed about it. And besides, I got these questions from Jeff Norman, which makes my job very easy. So I'm going to use a lot of them. He has Daniel Ellsberg is regarded widely as a national hero. Of course, he wrote the Pentagon Papers, which leaked the Pentagon Papers, which turned everything around for us. But Bradley Manning is not regarded that way. Do you think he should be? How do you think he compares with Ellsberg? And what exactly is Bradley Manning accused of doing, now that we're on the subject?
So, Bradley Manning is not the first young man that we have locked up lawlessly and tortured. He's just the first white English-speaking American young man. I mean, we have put kids much younger in Guantanamo and elsewhere. And he's a member of the U.S. Army. And he is accused of doing what candidate Obama said was heroic and should be rewarded and celebrated. And that is, he's accused of being a whistleblower. He's accused of leaking information to the American public revealing what its government has been up to. He's accused of leaking the video that WikiLeaks called collateral murder that showed a U.S. helicopter intentionally firing on a van with wounded people in it. He's accused of leaking the State Department cables, of which we have still seen only a tiny fraction, but that have already revealed more about what our government does day in and day out than every newspaper and television station and so-called media news outlets in the country put together. We have learned that our State Department spends an extraordinary amount of time selling U.S. weapons to other governments, that our State Department pressures other governments not to prosecute members of our previous administration, that our State Department colludes with other governments to lie to their people about what's happening so that we'll bomb people in Yemen and the Yemeni government will take credit for it to avoid admitting that the U.S. was involved. We see absolutely Machiavellian approach to the world by a State Department that is quite clearly a servant of the Pentagon. We see many, many statutory crimes and outrageous abuses revealed that we wouldn't know about otherwise. And when you see a crime committed, you are legally required to reveal it. Now, Dan Ellsberg leaked very, very top secret information about the Vietnam War that had been gathered together and put into a report about years and years of lies to the public about the Vietnam War. And he leaked it to the media and it got into print. Much of it became pretty well known to the American public, more so I think than WikiLeaks, which has become information that's become more known to other people, including in Tunisia and elsewhere, that has really generated change. Ellsberg was released on bond on his own recognizance. He was given a civilian trial. He was freed. They tried to kill him, but they did not lock him up. They did not torture him. We had a better media. We had a Congress. I'm not even going to say better. We had a Congress. It was a different world, and there was a different impact But what Dan Ellsberg did is essentially what Bradley Manning did. But Bradley Manning leaked information that was available to tens, hundreds of thousands of people, all of whom, except for him apparently, didn't bother to think the American public should know what its government was doing or to act on it. Bradley Manning released information that was not top secret, that was just secret. Bradley Manning has not been given a trial date. He's not been released. He's been put in a 6x12 cell. He's not going to get a civilian trial at all. At best, he will get a military trial by subordinates of the commander-in-chief, who has publicly said that Manning is guilty. And I, for one, am not fully convinced he will ever get a trial. There's clearly no force in this country compelling our institutions of justice to give people trials. You know, this nonsense about our great president who was going to close Guantanamo, he was going to move one location where we abuse people from Cuba to Illinois, right? You know, we were going to imprison people forever without trials in Illinois. Why you can't do that in Kansas is beyond me. And so that the United Nations, the credibility of which the Justice Department says motivates our war in Libya, their special rapporteur on torture has been denied the right to visit Bradley Manning. Congressman Dennis Kucinich has been denied the right to visit Bradley Manning. They will not let anyone see or talk to him or learn how he has been treated. And so they've moved him from a Marine base in Virginia to Leavenworth in Kansas, and we've all claimed victory. Ha-ha, we forced them to do something. But we didn't force them to let him go. We didn't force them to prosecute the people who've tortured him. We didn't force them to give him a trial date or a fair trial. We didn't force them to let anyone in. The Red Cross, the Congress, the United Nations, nobody. We moved him to flyover country where he's further out of the way, and we've allowed them to play it as if they've ended the story and justice has been served. So at the very best, this is a weak victory. And to go and give the man responsible for torturing this kid $76,000 in order to politely sing a song to him for 2 minutes is an illustration not just of a broken system, but of a broken mindset in Americans, of something wrong in our souls, that we would commit that sort of masochistic collective suicide. As we are going to give you $76,000 to make sure you're reelected, but could you pretty please stop lawlessly locking people up and torturing them? That is the way we get more people behind bars and tortured. You know, they refused Congressman Kucinich's right to visit out of concern for Bradley Manning's privacy. Well, they forced him to stand naked in the morning and sleep naked and interrupt his sleep every 5 minutes if he's not facing the right direction. The reason that they're not forming naked pyramids is just because they don't have enough of us in there yet. Right? When we went to Quantico to protest, the Marine Guards grabbed me and hauled me away, and 20, 30 peace activists grabbed me and pulled me back. They grabbed somebody else, and we grabbed him and pulled him back. But they are going to grab more and more people if this is tolerated. If we let this stand, and if we save up our money and give it to the guy responsible, we're gonna end up in there too.
Okay, you all know the reference that David is talking about the $76,000.
Yeah.
No. Okay, the president was speaking at an event. I've forgotten what the event was.
In San Francisco.
In San Francisco, and Code Pink bought a table for $76,000. And at the table, they sang a song about freeing Bradley Manning. And part of the song, yeah, I had the lyrics at home and I forgot to bring them. And part of the song said, look, Mr. President, we're going to vote for you in 2012 because, like, what choice do we have? That was part of the song. But they did plead with him to release, or at least give a fair trial to Bradley Manning. And when they were all finished with this song, can you imagine the guts it took in this incredible, fancy fundraiser where everyone was paying thousands of dollars for these very middle class and upper class women to stand up and sing this song? And Obama said, very interesting. And now, where was I? That was the president. That was the result of the President of the United States.
And then, Lila, he said in conversation afterwards, well, Bradley Manning broke the law. Which was
and he doesn't know that
which Obama has said about other individuals before they had a trial. I mean, he's laid forth the policy of assassinating people without a trial, which is what we do now mostly. But he has done this before. But when Nixon did this with Charles Manson before he had a trial, it was a big scandal. You weren't supposed to say somebody's guilty, especially if you're the commander of the people who are going to give him the pretense of the trial before. And you know, I'm not attacking Code Pink, which is one of the best peace organizations we have. But to go and promise to work and fund the re-election of someone while you protest is just an extreme example of the approach we take, the approach the labor movement takes, the approach our whole culture takes to resistance to power. We engage in theatrics. We strike businesses by having colorful one-day pickets out front. We don't try to halt production. We protest the president by getting arrested in front of the White House, but we don't surround it and shut it down. We don't get in the way. In fact, we promise to send him our money when we get out of jail. And there's something very, very much wrong. And you know, now up in Berkeley, Vic Sadat has now got a song about Free Bradley Manning, and Graham Nash of Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young has now got a song about Bradley Manning and has performed it once in public and has been booed.
Well, I feel as though the more public display we have on this subject, the better chances we have of getting them out. And we do need every grassroots victory that we can get. We also need, this is my last statement before I open this up to questions, we do need to have a realistic sense of who our president is. I would like to end my part of this by reading to you what the president said, his own words now, about the economy in his presentation for his own budget, which is almost as draconian as the Republican budget, but not quite. He said the following: "The America I know is generous and compassionate. We take responsibility for ourselves and each other. I will preserve these health care programs. I will not allow Medicare to become a voucher program that leaves seniors at the mercy of the insurance companies with a shrinking benefit to pay for rising costs. I will not tell families with children who have disabilities that they have to fend for themselves. We will not abandon the fundamental commitment this country has kept for generations. That includes our commitment to Social Security." From the president. The next day, the Republicans voted to do all of the things he said he would not stand against, that he would not stand for, and he hasn't said a word since. So folks, we're on our own. That's right. Either we do it or it isn't done. That's why I love to give the grassroots a lot of space on my show. On Monday, I mean, and if I seem to be plugging it, I really am. On Monday, for example, we're going to have Jody Evans, who is the co-chair of Code Pink. We're going to have Dan Hirsch, who is the head of the Committee to Bridge the Gap, which is a very dynamic anti-nuclear organization. And you know, right after Japan melted down, the president took 2 weeks and then made a very fiery speech, if you'll pardon the euphemism when I'm talking about nuclear plants, a very fiery speech in favor of opening 55 new nuclear plants. So I say, we are on our own. And the third guest is someone none of us ever heard of, but someone who's interested in saving the lagoon in Malibu, because no cause is too strong, I mean it's too small for us to get involved in if it's on the side of justice and it's the right cause.